I'm sorry if you guys can hear the noise in my background. I live in the Bronx and people are losing their minds out here from this quarantine. Okay? Learn how to be by yourself. Anyway, as promised, I am finally getting this book As promised, I am finally getting this book review done, okay? So, let me see if I can find the book. Oh, here we go. I decided to do, surprise, surprise, another Toni Morrison book, but this is one that is not really discussed often or at all. I didn't even know about it until I purchased her other books, and of course, when you go in the back of a book, which is why I love having on hand. They probably have that for electronics too. I don't even know. But I found out about this book in particular through reading her other novels from buying them. But yeah, we're going to focus on jazz. And I found this at Strand. I originally went to Barnes & Noble, but I decided to go to Strand. It really depends on how I'm feeling. If it's raining, like, am I in the mood? Because Barnes & Noble is literally like right there. Like, it's a quicker walk versus Strand. I do prefer to purchase from Strand, and if you don't know why, then research, because I don't like going into that. But yeah, I got this one from Strand because they didn't have what I was looking for at Barnes. But I'm gonna read on the back of the actual book, you know, so that you have your own clear idea of what this is about. And then I'm gonna do my own little summary right after that, just to fill in some spaces so that you're not completely like, what? Because for this review in particular, I don't want to give you a play-by-play of every single thing that's going on. That's just my style as of right now. I'm not gonna be your personal spark notes necessarily, but I do like to discuss, you know, symbolism and deeper connections and how it relates to society and different communities. I love to talk about that, and that's what we're going to focus on. So of course I'm going to choose my characters, my connections, and anything that stood out to me that I felt we should discuss for this. So let's get started. Sorry, had to fix my hair real quick because I just wasn't, it's just so annoying when you have twists and braids. And you see that glare? That was all up in my face, so I had to move over here. Anyway, back to what this book is actually about. So it says, in the winter of 1926, when everybody everywhere sees nothing but good things ahead, Joe Trace, a middle-aged waiter who moonlights as a door-to-door salesman of Cleopatra beauty products, shoots his teenage lover to death. At the funeral, Joe's wife, Violet, attacks the girl's corpse. This passionate, profound story of love and obsession by Nobel Peace Prize winner Toni Morrison brings us back and forth in time as a narrative is assembled from the emotions, hopes, fears, and deep realities of Black urban life. So, of course, when I first read that, the first thing that caught my attention, obviously, is that this man who was married shoots this teenage lover. And I'm just like, and then the kicker, the wife goes to the funeral and attacks the dead corpse. That was wild to me. Like, I was just like, Toni, she always takes it there. It always gotta be dramatic, but like, damn. You know, I love the passion. I love the thrill, so whatever. My own personal summary of what this is about. Basically, this old married couple, been married for about 20 years, when they were in their 20s, because, you know, present day when they're old is 1926, but late 1800s is when they decide to get married, moved from the South to what I presume is New York City. Sorry, I have allergies. Actual allergies. Calm down. Which I presume is New York City because Toni has a way with words. She's very poetic, and it's very rare that, or if all, honestly, that she actually says the name of a real city from real life. She'll always name like a particular town of Black folks, something completely different, and there's always like some meaning to it. She doesn't give the town or the city any meaningful name, but the way she's describing it, you know that they moved to New York City. And I'm sure she has her own personal connections with the city as a writer. And, you know, times in the 70s, I feel like New York was just it. But anyway, they moved to the city together, Lazzy Dazzy Day. Of course, they have love for each other, but, you know, it's another one of those situations where while they were young, it was more fresh and exciting. But as they got older, they realized the main reason why they're married is because of financial stability. They know each other since they were kids. It was comfortable, it was familiar, made sense. And, you know, they genuinely did love each other. It's just the passion part is, you know. But long story short, at this day and age, they're probably like late 40s, 50s, early 50s. And Joe, you know, stumbles upon a 16-year-old girl that he ends up pursuing, starts, you know, courting her, sleeping with her, and of course, being her 16-year-old self, because she's 16, I'm not sure if I said that, probably did. She decides she wants to move on, and when she decides to move on, he loses his mind, and it's one of those blackout passion situations like OJ, but not as bad as OJ, because I don't know if there's anybody as bad as OJ. But yeah. And like the back says, of course, Violet loses her mind because I think throughout all of this, she doesn't even know that he's having an affair. And I think there might probably be certain areas where you realize that she had a feeling, or she kind of knew but didn't really care because it wasn't in her face. But of course, when he shoots the young girl, Violet finds out because I'm sure the people in the town were like, hey, you heard about your husband? And she loses her shit because even though she's not fiending for her husband, it's just the principle, I guess. And just the fact that the one thing that I had from moving from the South, the one thing I had, you took him from me. And, you know, there's a lot that goes into this, you know. I feel for both Joe and Violet, just to make that clear. Nobody is a villain. Nobody is innocent in this book. Even Doris, to be completely honest. But she doesn't deserve to get shot. She deserves other things, but definitely not to get shot. So, and then essentially the rest of the book is them discussing how everything plays out after Doris gets shot, and also discussing the backgrounds of the married couple and how they ended up moving to the city, discussing the background of Doris, and just connecting everything into and leading it into the point where Joe ends up shooting her. Because in the beginning of the book, you don't even know that, you don't know why she got shot. You don't know a lot of things, actually. All you think from reading the first few pages is that this man shot his lover, who was a teenager, and immediately you're thinking he's bad, she's good, and that's the end. But if you know Toni and you know my reviews from Toni books that I've read, you know that it's never that simple. So we're gonna get into why I chose this book, the character of Focus, and the connection of Focus. Those are gonna be my threes from now on with these reviews. So we're gonna start with one, and that is, why did I choose this book to review? So now we're going to get into the 2 reasons why I chose to review this book in particular. Now, the reason, number 1, why I chose to review Jazz is because I love how unique Toni's connections are within a book. I feel like with something like this, with most other authors, you already know how this is going to pan out. You know, you're going to know exactly what's going on. There isn't going to be much symbolism. It's just going to be right there in your face. He cheated. He's ain't shit. She was young, so that was gross and all of that. But Toni doesn't do that with her novels. She's always making it so that characters in real life who would never speak to each other after a tragic event that affected both of them in a negative way, but on opposite ends of the spectrum. So like good, bad, victim, not victim. Like she always brings those two together and allows you to see both perspectives. Even if you first read the passage and you're like, oh, well, he's clearly fucked up. She won't sit there and say that he's not fucked up through the words and through the way she has them interacting with each other, but she will, she'll say that they're messed up, and she'll also bridge that gap and be like, well, why were they messed up? And if you really look at it, the person who's supposed to be the victim plays a role in this as well. So nobody's innocent, right? The connections in this book don't necessarily just focus on Joe and Violet's connection. Of course, it's talked about, and it kind of has to be spoken about because, you know, they're the main characters in this book. But after that, she kind of moves on, and it's more so about the aftermath, meeting what caused it in the first place and the connection surrounding that. And a lot of it is dealing with self-reflection, internalizing a lot of different things, how being brought up one way can make you go the complete opposite, which is connected to the girl Doris, the 16-year-old who gets shot and killed. And the second reason why I chose to review this book is because, and this is gonna sound kind of petty or weird, I don't know. If you're watching this review and you're not African American, I think it's essential that I explain this. Even if you are African American, I need to explain this because it's kind of funny but also real, and could be offensive to some people who haven't fully learned to love themselves and fight the self-hate. But I love the way Toni describes Doris, the 16-year-old girl, okay? Doris is a light-skinned African American woman, right? And in today's society, I think a lot of us have forgotten about the one-drop rule. And for those who have forgotten, the one-drop rule once upon a time during slavery here in America meant that, sorry if you heard that, it meant that if you were a person who had just a near drop of Negro blood in you, then you were black. Which is why we have phrases like mulatto, white passing, things of that nature, feel me? Doris is not white passing. She is light-skinned. But it's not just that really got me the way that Toni describes her. She just basically is like, she has like these, she's cute, but not the cute that you would expect when you automatically hear light-skinned black woman. I feel like, especially in today's society, mixed race or black, all those terms have been muddled, and we're forgetting a lot that goes into it. So I feel like when people hear mixed race, you're thinking of like Kim Kardashian's kids type situation. Like, you know how people fetishize those types of kids and they're like, oh, they're so gorgeous and blah, blah, blah. They look so unique. Like, I think that's what people keep seeing. But we're not making that clear distinction between racially ambiguous women and actual light-skinned African-American women. Light-skinned African-American women who have black parents, like me. That's obviously why I connected to this, because yeah, I'm light-skinned, but you can clearly see that I'm black. I have black features. I have black hair. Like, you can tell that I'm black, at least to me. And it cracks me up, because there's more to this. It cracks me up because Toni describes it so well. It's a situation where it's almost like a mirage. So like, she'll be out on the street and like these young boys will see her and they'll be like, oh my God, because you know, especially back then, that mentality of, oh, if I get a light-skinned woman, she's like a trophy. It's like they see her and they're like, oh yeah, and then they get up close and they see all the mishaps and the flaws, like the fact that she has on these tattered clothing, like she dresses like an old lady because her aunt is trying to basically put a chastity belt on her. She has like these breakouts on her cheek. She has black features and black hair. Like, she's not this Lena Horne, Whitley Gilbert type of light skin. Like, she's not on that spectrum. She's just black and happens to be light skinned. I feel like black people reading this can laugh because we understand our culture. We understand where a lot of all these different these distinctions come from. It's almost like seeing that meme, like like no one, light skinned girl, oh my God, everybody was hating on me because I was light skinned with good hair. And then you see the picture of Chucky the doll with the flat iron burnt up, like messed up light skin hair. Like, that's what I think of when I read that section of how Toni describes Doris. It's like this young girl who might possibly think in her mind that she has something going for her just because she's light skinned, but the fact of the matter is that she's just black. Not to say that we don't have a lot going for us, because of course us as black people are popping. But the point is like, you're not special. And Doris doesn't really do anything in the book to make it seem like she is the shit, the end all be all. But I love how Toni pretty much just nips it in the bud in the beginning. Like, nope, I know what you're thinking, but nope, it's not that. It's that, but it's not that. So the character I'm choosing to focus on for this book is, of course, the so-called villain, however you slice it, Doris, the 16-year-old girl that Joe ends up having an affair with. Now, quickly going through Doris's background, in present day, before she gets killed, she is living in New York with her aunt, and her aunt's name is Alice Manfred. The reason why she ends up living with her aunt is because while she was living somewhere else, I forget because Toni doesn't ever say the names of places, she's living with her parents and something happens. I'm pretty sure it was racially charged, maybe not, but probably, and her home ends up getting burned, and she gets out and her parents die in the fire, and she's clearly traumatized by this. And the only reason why you know she's traumatized by it is because that happens during one of her and Joe's pillow talk sessions. She opens herself up to him and starts crying because she's been repressing this trauma for her whole life. She's raised by her aunt, and her aunt was raised to pretty much be a prude, you know, and that's something that I also love about Toni. She does this one section in the book where she expresses and shows how, especially back in that time, it's getting better now, but how black women almost show disgust toward young black girls who begin puberty. It's like as soon as they get breasts and they start dropping blood, they're spoken to as though they are a villain or like they're a whore before they even understand what's happening to them physically, let alone thinking about a boy. So, you know, covered up with clothing, limited entertainment, church all the time, day and night, weekdays, weekends, like that's your only fun. You know, not really out and about in the world. And if you even think about being out and about in the world, you're probably trying to do whore-like things. Like, that's how Alice was raised, and that's how she ends up raising Doris. So in Alice's mind, she thinks she's doing this girl a favor by covering her and restricting her in all ways possible. But, you know, as we young girls know, or young women know, that didn't really work for most of us. Of course, we got spanking, so we were a little bit more chill, some of us, but some of us like rebelled and rebelled hard, which is why it's never really good to restrict teenagers, kids and teenagers, period. They need their freedom. They have to express themselves in order to figure out who they are. Of course, there are limitations, but the point is that Alice did too much, and that plays a huge role in why Doris is out here doing the things that she shouldn't be doing, entertaining things that she should not be entertaining, because she doesn't even really know. Like, she knows she shouldn't be talking to Joe, but she doesn't understand why. She just knows that her aunt doesn't like it and that she'll get in trouble, but she doesn't understand the weight of everything that's happening and the fact that he is just too old to even be entertaining her. Like, nowadays that would clearly be illegal, but this is before laws were passed. The way that Doris meets Joe, they are chilling, or they're not chilling. Joe, as the back of the book said, is a salesman, and he sells Cleopatra beauty products. You know, we selling a black woman. He goes door to door because that was normal back then. And of course, he ends up knocking on Alice Manfred's door. And of course, her home is filled with women because I guess she's having some type of gathering. I don't know. But he goes in there, and while these women are like flirting with him because he is like an attractive man, they're flirting with him, and then they start kikiing with each other. And you know, when black women kiki with one another, we start to lose focus and time. And in that time, when nobody pays attention, even her own aunt, who was like trying to lock her coochie down, he ends up whispering something to her, and that's pretty much it. And the second time he sees her was in a candy shop, and it was on. He does what he gotta do, get them a room. They have their days, blah, 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 blah. They get to know each other, they pillow talk, but she's a 16-year-old. She ends up falling for someone else, and it's just like, I don't want to do this anymore. But the reason why I'm bringing this up is because that's one of the reasons why I chose her character. I love instances and stories where it's not the typical or the norm. Because I feel like in society, especially for Western culture, we're so used to seeing in media the man being the one doing the chasing and the man being the one to pull away when they're no longer into this anymore and just bouncing like nothing happened just to go on to the next person. Like, we always see that, but we rarely get to see that with girls, especially young black girls. So I love how Toni has Doris kind of craving this chase. She craves the thrill and the danger. And it's probably because she's trying to run away from the inner trauma that she hasn't dealt with, which I'm just now like realizing kind of. I mean, I knew it, but like my mind works faster than my mouth sometimes. But yeah, I love how dedicated to finding her freedom, even being trapped by her aunt. I loved how she did that. She gets the thrill and the excitement from sleeping with this older man, not just because he's married, like that's a part of it. It's honestly like the latter fact, like the last reason why she's sleeping with this man. But he's like buying her all these nice things and just giving her attention that she enjoys, you know? With him, she doesn't have this whole mirage scenario where a black man saw her and it was all like, ooh, yeah, from far away, and got close and was like, ooh, wait, that's not exactly what I thought I was going for. Like, I could, but no. She didn't get that with him. He was just all like, oh no, yeah, I like what I see from far away and I like what I see right now up close. So that's how that happened. But everything changes, of course, when she starts to get the attention from a boy, not only her age, but he's cute. And even though he doesn't really got much going for him, he has the air of going on. He has the air of a lot going on for him, you know. He dresses the part and has the swag and is a dickhead like most powerful men are, but he don't really got nothing going on for himself. But she don't know that she's young. When she gets that new feeling, that new passion, what she actually wants, she's just kind of like, okay, yeah, I know we were having fun and everything, and thank you so much for being there during my darkest moment, but I want to go over here. He's hot and he doesn't say yes to everything, so bye. And that's of course what triggers Joe. He ends up hunting her down while she's at a school dance. Is it a school dance? Or it's not a school dance, but it's like a dance where young 20-somethings and teenagers go to back at that time in the 1920s. So that scenario, he hunts her down, finds her, transfers through all the trains, and shoots her. And I know what you're thinking, like, oh my God, this man's a monster, he shoots her. I'm like, yeah, the whole situation was horrible. But it's crazy because when you get to the end of the book, you find out that he doesn't even like shoot her. He shoots her, but it like, I don't know what that's called, but it like skids her. Like, it doesn't actually go through her. And the way that she dies is by bleeding out on a mattress at the party. And nobody knows this. Throughout the entire book, you just keep thinking he kills her, he kills her, he kills her. And you find out that she essentially kills herself. Because when the guy who she was all fawning over, he's more mad about there being blood on his shirt than he is about his date being shot. He like literally just checks on her, but is like irritated and then just kind of walks away. Everybody's around, but nobody knows this except for her best friend, who comes down to her to hear what she has to say. And she pretty much is like, don't call the ambulance, don't call anybody, just let me lay here. Like, and as poetic as a way she could say was like, just leave me here to die. And that's what happens. The second reason why I chose her, which ties into the first reason, is because I love, once again, that she kind of has that masculine fire. Cause and I think I'm gonna try to find this page so that I can read it to you. But
2 hours later.
Okay, so here's what the passage says. It says Acton. Acton is the name of the new boy that she leaves Joe for. Acton now, he tells me when he doesn't like the way I fix my hair. Then I do it how he likes it. I never wear glasses when he is with me, and I change my laugh for him to one he likes better. I think he does. I know he didn't like it before, and I play with my food now. Joe likes for me to eat it all up and want more. Acton gives me a quiet look when I ask for seconds. He worries about me that way. Joe never did. Joe didn't care what kind of woman I was. He should have. I cared. I wanted to have a personality, and with Acton, I'm getting one. I have a look now. What pencil-thin eyebrows do for my face is a dream. All my braces, all my bracelets are just below my elbow. Sometimes I knot my stockings below, not above my knees. 3 straps are across my instep, and at home I have shoes with leather cut out to look like lace. She was chasing Acton in a way. Not like really chasing him, but she was trying to get him to notice her. Because it's not just a man thing. It's a person thing, a human nature thing to want what you can't have, one. To chase after it and to feel like it's worth more or like it's more valuable when you win it because you went through all of the struggle just to get it. That's a huge illusion that messes up a lot of relationships, to be completely honest, because you think you want somebody, you think you want something, and you don't even really want them. What you want is that feeling, that passion, that burst. That's what you want. You want fireworks. And you know, fireworks, when it's not in that toxic way, takes a little bit more. And maybe throughout it all you feel kind of hopeless, like you're not gonna ever feel that again, and then it comes. And I know this because it's happened to me, you know, dating somebody that you never thought that you would have such intense feelings for, and it gets to that point after a while, just getting to know them and developing a friendship. That happened to me once. I think it's a very rare thing to feel unless it's in a toxic situation, and ultimately we don't want toxic situations. But I'm going off tangent. The point is that was who she was. She liked that, you know, like she loved what Joe was doing, but she loved what Acton was doing more. She liked that Acton was pushing her to be somebody because she felt like nobody. And Joe was okay with her feeling like nobody and was okay with coddling her and making her feel right, because in his mind he's like, I'm doing what you do for somebody that you love. And he is, but he's also not pushing her. And even though Acton is doing it in a shitty toxic way, he's doing it, and that's all she is attracted to. Lastly, I want to focus on the connection between Alice Manfred, Doris's aunt, and Violet, Joe's wife. This connection stood out to me the most because of how Toni writes. And she does this thing where these extreme things happen where there are both parties involved or 2 parties involved, and those 2 parties should be enemies. But she always makes a situation happen where a person from each side ends up coming into contact with one another and expressing themselves fully without any aggression, without crazy exaggerations of emotion. It's just natural dialogue. And that's what she does with Alice and with Violet. You would think that Violet showing up to Alice's front door would have Alice acting crazy, like, what the fuck, get out of my, like, no, she doesn't do any of that. At first she's just irritated and it's like, oh my god, what does this woman want? I hope this crazy woman leaves me alone. She killed my niece. I just don't even have the energy. Spent all my years protecting her from Dick when I should have been protecting her from you niggas. It's great because they mirror each other. Alice is realizing more about herself and how she played a role in her niece's death. And Violet is realizing how ridiculous she is for holding on to a man so tight while also not even really wanting him. Like, it was more of a principle thing. It's weird. And what really gets me throughout this dialogue and how it starts to connect for me personally is when they start to say things to each other like, why did you do that? And then the other one comes back with, well, why did you do what you did? So it's kind of like Alice's, why the hell would you kill my niece? Like, was that gonna make your life better? Was that gonna make your man not wanna fuck her? Was that gonna make your man not cry about it right now? And Violet's all like, well, what about you? Why did you do what you did? Why did you raise Doris to be like this? And Alice is like, I didn't raise her to be like this. Like, I did everything in my power to protect her. I put a chastity belt on it. Like, I'm just, you know, saying it how you guys can understand. And then Alice saw like, oh, well, am I part of this? Was me being too strict allowing her to create a path to escape? If I had been more lenient, would that have happened? And it's not like they're blaming each other. There is no real victim blaming happening. It's more of an understanding, sharing of perspectives, opening each other's minds. It's just so strange yet so beautiful and necessary, and I love that. I love Toni. So that's all that I have for my first quarantine book review. I don't know how many more of these I'm gonna do, to be completely honest. The world is in hell right now. So I'm praying for you all. Pray for me, and we'll all get through this together. See you in my next book review or video or whatever I choose to create.
Don't take drugs!